insensitive, hateful remarks and statements were flying everywhere that tend to divide us along ethnic, tribal, religious, and political divides. How do we heal as a people and as a nation? Who will unify the people and unite the different ethnic nationalities for the pursuit of a common goal when it comes to development of our great nation, Nigeria. It is on that note that we brought this topic to you. Joining me on the show this morning, two elder statesmen, of course, who should know what we must do to actually take take Nigeria to the next level, and of course, what the next president must do as a matter of urgency to actually reposition our great state. Dr. Muda Yusuf is an economist, the former Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also the founder and CEO of the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, CCPE. Is joining me via Zoom this morning. Dr. Muda Yusuf, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and to all our viewers as well.
All right, Dr. Muda Yusuf, a lot has been said about the economic situation of Nigeria. Beyond the politics that we are practicing, the ethno-religious sentiments that has pervaded the space and has almost taken over the conversation of who should be the next president and what the next president should focus on. What do you think should be the immediate task of the next president when you look at the socio-economic status of Nigeria presently?
Well, thank you very much. When we look at a number of broad areas, we look at what we call the macroeconomic issues, part of which you highlighted in your intro. And this has to do with issues around inflation. We all know the kind of pain that the citizens are feeling as we speak, as far as inflation is concerned. I'm talking now about the general increase in price level. This is impacting individuals, it's affecting the welfare of the people, and is aggravating the level of poverty in the country. It's also affecting investors. Because cost of production has been increasing, profit margins have been eroded, capacity utilization is being affected, and the capacity of investors to even create new jobs or retain existing jobs has been severely constrained. So inflationary pressure is one big issue as far as the economy is concerned, that whoever is coming on board in 2023 should be able to put some clear strategies on the table on how to deal with it. Related to that is the issue of fuel subsidy and energy security. Now, it is a very big worry, as a sad commentary on the state of affairs of our country, that as an oil-producing nation, we are 100% dependent on importation of petroleum products. And that has been a very big issue, and this issue has been with us for over 10 years, going to 15 years. And we have not been able to get our refineries working. We have not been able to attract private investments into that space. And we all know what the consequences has been. Now that oil prices are up, at a time where we should be celebrating and be reaping from the oil price windfall and be building our reserves and strengthening our currency, we are experiencing the exact opposite of that, which is an irony. We are about the only oil-producing country that is in this kind of situation. So that is one major issue that needs to be tackled. How do we deal with the issue of energy security, and how do we optimize the opportunities, and quite a lot of it exists in our oil and gas sector. Then we have the very frightening debt crisis. If we continue this way, we'll end up in a debt trap. We are now in a situation where our debt service is already exceeding our revenue, at least going by the latest report that we have. That is very frightening, and this has to do with how we manage our fiscal space. I'm talking now about fiscal operations of government. How do we make the fiscal operations of government more sustainable? Because what we're experiencing now is clearly not sustainable. So that, for me, is also a very big issue. Then, of course, we have the worrying issue about insecurity. The insecurity situation is not only affecting the social life of our country, it's also affecting the economic life. Our agricultural sector has practically, I won't say collapsed, but has been severely affected by the insecurity. Many of our citizens that are in the agricultural space are not able to farm anymore. Many of them are in IDP camps. So I will know what insecurity is doing now to practically all aspects of the country. And rather than improve, the situation seems to be deteriorating. So whoever is coming on board should be able to assure citizens of this country on what exactly they want to do differently with regard to this insecurity. Then we have issues around our investment climate generally. Because there is no country that can progress if there is no investment. And if the economy is not sound, the political environment cannot be stable. Because you need investment to create employment, you need investment to alleviate poverty. So the general investment climate condition, apart from the macroeconomic condition that I mentioned, is also something that we need whoever is coming on board to be able to put clear strategies on the table. How we are going to deal with issues of infrastructure, how we are going to fix our ports, how we are going to fix our regulatory environment, how we are going to deal with issues of connectivity, issues of competitiveness, and how we are going to deal clearly with issues of unemployment. And what strategies do we have on the table to be able not just to deliver infrastructure, but to even fund infrastructure? Because it is easy to promise that you provide infrastructure, you do this, you do that. How exactly are you going to fund these things in the light of the current fiscal situation? So these are some of the critical things that we expect whoever is coming on board to be able to lay on the table clear strategies on how to deal with these things. And this, of course, will require that there is a very good team and a good blend of technocrats and politicians to manage the affairs of this country.
Are you concerned that these questions or these issues that you are laying bare and the questions that we are supposed to be asking those who are interested in becoming the next president of Nigeria is not dominating discussions, political discussions and debate in recent times, ahead of the 2023 elections?
No serious discussion around this for now. What we are hearing is about religion, about whether you are from the south, you are from the west, or south, or whether you are Muslim or Christian and all of that. And those who also are making statements are not telling us in details what exactly or how exactly they will do things. So what we are getting for now are just general statements, as just scratching the surface, making promises, and just as they say, talk is cheap. It's very easy to promise anything, to say anything, but it is the strategy that will determine the depth of knowledge of each of the political parties. We are not seeing much of that, perhaps because maybe the campaign has not fully started. Perhaps that is why, but I can't see any comprehensive proposition yet from any of the parties. So I think as we progress in this electoral process, we have to engage and interrogate the capacities and the content of whatever they are putting on the table to address all these critical issues. Because if we don't address these issues, the economy and even the society itself will be at risk.
Now, the depreciation of the naira is a major talking point ahead of the elections, and it's an indication that all is not well economically when it comes to Nigeria. What are the short and mid-term solutions to arrest the continuous downward slide of the value of the naira ahead of politicking before 2023? Because keen watchers are predicting that it could continue to slide against the dollar and the pounds before we get to February 2023.
Well, the foreign exchange situation is a very disturbing situation because foreign exchange is critical to the economy. Impact is systemic. That's an economy-wide effect. It is central to investment, and it is central and strategic to trade. When I talk about trade, I'm not just talking about buying and selling. I'm talking about import and export. Because if you talk to any operator in any sector of the economy, the foreign exchange issue is a major issue for everybody, even for those who are exporting. Because if you have an operation and if your import content is just 10%, if you don't have that 10%, you don't have a product, you don't have a business. And you have a foreign exchange environment now that is very volatile, that is unpredictable, that is riddled with all manner of corruption and transparency problems. So I agree with this, a major issue. And the things to do, first, there are structural issues around this foreign exchange issue. There are also policy issues. There are global issues as well, you know. And let me say this, that exchange rate is a price. It's like the price of a commodity. And for every price in economics, prices are driven either by factors of demand or factors of supply. So as we look at the variables playing out on each side of this equation, the demand side of the equation and the supply side of the equation, this is the way to address an exchange rate problem. And on the side of the structural issues, we need to look at how we can build the capacity of the economy first to generate foreign exchange itself. Because if there is no supply, the situation will continue to degenerate. So we need to support our industries first to be able to produce competitively, produce efficiently, so that they can be able to export for the few of them that are exporting. Secondly, we need to support them to improve their efficiency and productivity, to be able to do what we call import substitution, so that some of the things that we are importing, we'll be able to produce them locally. Right now, the domestic cost of production is so high that we can neither export competitively or even substitute imports. So we need to look at all the environments around production. Issues of infrastructure, issues of energy, issues of logistics, issues around the ports, all those issues we need to look at them to position our productive sector to be able to export and to be able to facilitate import substitution. Secondly, we need to deal with this issue of fuel importation. Fuel importation is the biggest pressure on our foreign exchange markets and on our reserves. We are spending billions of dollars importing petroleum products. And yet we are all producing country. That in itself is a tragedy in terms of our economic management. So we need to fix that, and that entails that we need to deal with our refineries, accelerate the rehabilitation that is being talked about, hopefully before the end of the year, and also ensure that we support private investors who are investing in refineries. We have the Dangote and we have some other private investors that are trying to invest. If we are able to do that, You'll be able to take a lot of pressure away on the demand side of our foreign exchange. That will allow the foreign exchange rate to improve. Secondly, it will relieve the pressure on the reserves. Thirdly, if you do it properly and are able to attract more investors, we should be exporting petroleum products, just as other oil-producing countries are doing, not exporting crude. You should be exporting petrol, diesel, and even petrochemical industries. I mean, petrochemical products. Because when you refine, you also have a lot of byproducts that can be used to support industrialization. So that also is a very important issue. Then the third very important point is policy. The current foreign exchange policy is highly dysfunctional. First is creating barriers for those who want to bring in foreign exchange into the economy. That's a very big problem. We cannot say that we are having a foreign exchange crisis, and yet we have a foreign exchange policy that is constituting a barrier. And what do I mean by that? You have an exchange rate policy that has fixed the exchange rate at around 460 or 420 or 425, whatever it is. And the current policy is that anybody that is bringing funds into this economy, any investor that is coming with funds, will have to exchange his foreign currency at the rate of 416 or 420. How many investors will bring their money into the economy at that rate? When they know that first we have multiple rates, secondly, they know that in the parallel market it's around 630. See, there's a time it got to 700. So the rigid position of the central bank as far as the exchange rate is concerned is also creating a problem. It's a policy problem. So what we need to do from a policy perspective is to allow a foreign exchange regime that is market reflective, that is flexible. So the CBN should allow the I&E window, which is investors and exporters window, to be able to reflect the market fundamentals so that people can trade freely. What we have now is not a market. It's like an allocation platform. So when you allow people who want to bring in foreign exchange into the country, let them bring it freely at whatever the prevailing market rate is in the I&E window. Let exporters be able to bring in their export proceeds. Let diaspora be able to bring in freely into that market. Of course, the CBN can intervene depending on its capacity, but we should have a market that functions. One of the biggest problems we have today is that we don't have a functioning foreign exchange market, truly defined. So that is a major issue, and it's a short-term issue that we can deal with. So if the government, if the CBN is able to do that, that will help. Because right now, there's so much problem, so much distortion, so much corruption in the foreign exchange market. If you have the right policy, you can eliminate that. Then you have the issue of oil theft. We are losing a lot of foreign exchange because people are stealing our crude. And this is a big cartel, because you're not talking about stealing biro or stealing a phone. People are stealing crude with vessels. How can we allow that to happen in a country where you have government, where you have security agencies? That again is a short-term thing that you can deal with. You have an OPEC quota that you cannot meet. So these are some of the things that we can do, to address our foreign exchange crisis as we speak.
Brilliant analysis. Thank you so much, Dr. Muda Yusuf, for joining us on the roundtable this morning. We appreciate you for your time and for the points that you have shared with us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
English Senator.
Thank you. He's here. He's also smiling and saying hi.
Yes, I can see him. Good insight.
My regards. I actually enjoy your contributions.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. All right, our esteemed audience, we will be going on a short break. When we come back, we will continue on the roundtable 2023 task before the next president of Nigeria. Stay tuned. You're welcome back. This is the Roundtable on OGTV, the People's Telly. And this is what we do every Monday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Earlier on, we spoke with the former Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Muda Yusuf, who is an economist, and of course, the CEO and founder of the Committee of Promotion of a Public Enterprise, CPPE. And we now have in the studio Senator Adegbenga Shefiu Kakam, former Deputy Governor of Ogun State and a distinguished Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria between 2011 and 2015. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Roundtable.
Pleasure.
Senator,
with you once again.
Yes, Senator Kaka. You heard everything Dr. Muda Yusuf said as regards what we need to do on the microeconomic and macroeconomic scale of the national economy. What are your thoughts and response to all that he said before we delve into other matters?
Well, theoretically, I think he encapsulated everything that should be put in focus. But practically, when you get to the top, we discover that what you have is totally pulls away from the reality. I agree with him to a large extent. And when we talk of issue of corruption, it seems it's getting aggravated day in, day out. It's a root cause of many of our problems. And of course, when you look at the societal, something on a macroeconomic level, you discover that, as he mentioned, the poverty level caused by unemployment, as people are unable to make a living for themselves. So it keeps on tormenting us. And sincerely speaking, many of the efforts being made, especially around petroleum products, we've discovered that it's not yielding the desired result. When President Obasanjo was in the saddle, I think about 18 private investors were granted license for refinery making. And unfortunately, none of them could perform. Now, we're supposed to have Dangote on stream. I think since 2020, that was the target. We are now in 2022, approaching 2023. I don't know what has been the problem. And when we talk of investors, we just have to take it with a pinch of salt. Bearing in mind that no foreign investors is coming to Nigeria on Jamboree. They are here for business. They are here to make money. Once the environment is not conducive for a profitable venture, you don't find anybody coming in. We've had many of our presidents junketing around the world saying that they are looking for investors here and there. Who is that investors that will come under a very hostile environment, under a situation where the energy, like he mentioned, is another thing entirely. And when you talk of energy, it's not talking only about the big industries. You are talking about even the artisanals, the welders, the ordinary people in the marketplaces. By the time they cannot get simple electricity to do their minor production, then you know they are in trouble. Diesel, 800 plus. Petrol, you are talking of 200 naira per liter. And you want people to produce. How would that one be possible? Getting ordinary water from the bowl, you need energy to propel. And water is life. So all this put together, we discover that we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. And in addition to that is the distraction that we are having which is very unfortunate. We are having a sort of, I don't know whether I should call it segregation or polarization within the Nigerian setup. A situation where I will have to determine whether your Joseph is the same thing as Yusuf that we know both in the Quran and the Bible. To the extent that some people will now be saying, no, he's a Muslim, he's a Christian, he must not be here. No to this, no to that. What is their business with that? The livelihood of the people has got no room for all such discrimination. The hunger don't know who is a Muslim, who is a Christian. You leave that one alone, you get to gender. For many years, we have been talking about Benjin, 30%, 35%, 40%. Even give them 50%, you will still find the agitation. Go to the teaching profession across the length and breadth of the country. Nearly 70% are women. Go to the judiciary, they've taken over. We are not averse to the women taking over, but the women are not inferior. They should stop making themselves inferior to the men, and the men should stop looking down on them, so that we see them as human beings, endowed by God, and then apportion different sexes as per the will of God. So all those ones will have to stop. Then the youth will say, oh, give the youth the chance to rule. Who is disturbing the youth? Innovative innovative youth, those that are very hardworking, they can always find their level. The elders need not die for the youth to survive. Both must survive, because the wisdom of the elders is highly required to guide the youth. Otherwise, the slightest mistake they make, they perish with it. So in order to guide them aright, they need the elders, and the elders also need the youth. In Yoruba parlance, we will say, "Owo omode o to pepe." So there must be a middle of the road. Yes, a balance, so that we can move as expected. So talking about a foreign exchange, that's another thing entirely. We have the multiple exchange rates, and it's not just one, it's not just two. In addition to 2 or 3 that is in existence, behind the scene is being done. I was reliably being informed that there are some people, privileged people, that are getting their own exchange rate at 120 naira, up to now, to $1. That is criminal, and we want to move. We want people to bring their own something and come and sell at 420, while the black market is going for 800. And it's the same people who are getting at 120 are making round tripping that our system cannot take care of. They cannot serve a notice of deterrence. So they continue doing this. Even the mint, get to the bank, you can't get the mint. And yet they are producing. All you will see is probably mutilated naira notes that were supposed to be consigned to dustbin. Then that is being polished up and then being recirculated. Then the other one, it is only at parties. You see people, crisp notes being sprayed. And not that they are obtained from the bank, but they are being purchased from third party. It is the people who are in charge that are putting it out at a price.
So you have a racket.
That is right.
In the foreign exchange market, you have a racket on the banks.
So you get to the party, you see some people marking it up as high as 20, 25%, 30% to sell just the money you want to spray. When the stock value is well known, we are actually devaluing the naira right there. So we are the enemy of ourselves.
Now, let's talk about the issues that are now threatening to divide us beyond what it should be. You've talked about the issue of gender, you've talked about the issue of religious sentiment,
cultural,
tribal. These are issues that are now
youth versus elder,
yes, that are now,
gender,
that are now being played up ahead of 2023 elections. The enormous task before the next president of Nigeria is how to de-emphasize, according to some experts, that we need to de-emphasize these issues that divide us rather than focus on the things that unite us as a people. How do we achieve that? What should be the next thing that the next president must do to rally the people, to unite them, unify the nation, so that these fault lines are not as pronounced as they are right now?
Well, if you permit me to simplify things, all those using segregation, discrimination to take undue advantage is all part and parcel of corruption. First and foremost, we have a faulty constitution. We adopted the presidential system in 1979 after the American system. Before that, we were having a working parliamentary system. And because we want to be like John and Jonas, we adopted presidential. It has proved to be too expensive, highly corrupt system, and unworkable. On top of it all, the constitution that we fashioned out was imposed on us. People have been talking restructuring. It takes two to tango. All of us must be ready to embrace restructuring. Then those who want restructuring must be in the majority in order to effect the needed changes. Hence, we will go to the level of patriotism. The moment the incoming president is patriotic, naturally, nepotism will be off the table. Naturally, Mr. Hayes might be, Mr. Joseph is my enemy, will not be there. I'm born of a woman. I have daughters as my own. I have sisters as my own. Then why should I discriminate against women? We should make the women comfortable. We should provide them the expected something so that there will be no agitation. Then once that is done, in the process of emphasizing on merit, when I say merit, you don't need to go and get a note from anybody to get what you deserve. Then you'll be laying a good foundation for better development. And once you can do that, the resultant effect will be failure. Then you do that one, all of us are talking of insecurity. Insecurity is not about the Boko Haram alone. The insecurity, like Dr. Yusuf said, is virtually in all sectors. Right now, we don't need anybody to tell us that we have insecurity in education. The education had been prostrate all along and is still getting worse on a daily basis. Now, a lot of tertiary institutions were being established. I was told that about 68 was being proposed for whatever reason by the National Assembly as addition to the existing ones. When in actual fact, we have refused to develop the existing ones, we have refused to fund the existing ones. The private ones that we are encouraging to come on board, many of them are for profit making. Nobody can stop them from making profit. Then the one for the common people are being put to the dustbin. Then how do we go? Where do we go? Unfortunately, many of the public tertiary institution personnel were those driving the privately established ones on part-time basis, and they charge higher money. Then those who are in charge of policy, if they are not content with the private institution in Nigeria, Many of them, they found sanctuary in the foreign land, taking our foreign exchange away. The foreign exchange is being depleted. All those 120 naira per dollar, mainly by those in authority. Then those in the industry, what are they doing? Many of them, they are just fronts to so-called foreign investors. And as front, I can tell you that I know some that you want to buy what they are producing in Nigeria today, you pay your money will first of all get to Belgium, get to Germany, before they authorize the local industry here to supply you the goods. It doesn't take time. So all these are not encouraging. And as they make the money, at any price, you find them exchanging it for hard currency so that they are repatriated. They are not keeping the money here. It is of no use to us. And what are we talking? When we talk about policy, the exchange rate regime, we were told what we required is just the foreign exchange value that will sustain our importation for 3 or 4 months. And we were fortunate because of the crude oil when it was favorable. Before we are talking of the regulation, when we don't have the infrastructure, we are talking of the regulation. The regulation on what? On emptiness. So when you get that one done, you discover that all the people concerned are not actually patriotic.
Now,
they are after what they will take away from the system.
Now, Senator Kaka, people have talked about, you have also mentioned it, that we seem to have a faulty constitution. And people have been clamoring for either a total discard of that constitution and come up with a brand new constitution, or we continue to amend the constitution to reflect the realities of the Nigerian system. Now, what must be done to address the issue of the structure of Nigeria? People have said we have had 2 different national conferences, recommendations were made, it continues to gather dust on the table of the president and not being implemented. So the next president first revisits the recommendations of or the reports of the national conferences held under former President Olusegun Obasanjo and secondly under Dr. Goodluck Jonathan to, in a way, appease all the different ethnic nationalities that are agitating right now. Will that calm frayed nerves and belittle this ethno-religious sentiment and hoopla that has generated the space, that has pervaded the space?
To a large extent, it's bound to address the problem, in the sense that you don't build something on nothing and expect it to stand. We are saying the foundation is not good enough, and the foundation is embedded in our constitution that's supposed to guide us. Don't forget that we have other countries that are having unwritten constitution.
Yes.
So I don't see any reason why we should be so rigid, we should be so fastidious on the so-called imposed constitution that we cannot change it. So 2013, 2014, the consensus built into that confab report is such that is capable of eliciting a sort of confidence in the constitution. So if for whatever reason we are not ready to go the whole scale, then they should just visit. Whoever is coming, the incoming president must visit that national confab report. Notwithstanding that, like I said somewhere, the average age of those people at that national confab happen to be around 70 years of age. That is faulting the composition. If they are fashioning it out for generation coming behind, the youth ought to form the bulk. So one would have expected the average age of being between 30 and 40, so that they will be planning for their own future. Not those that are already at tarmac, almost going to meet Baba God, will now be the ones saying, this is the way we want things to go. And that's why we continue to have youth agitation. It's not their fault. We made them to be in the situation they find themselves now. So if we cannot say, okay, yes, let's go back to 1963, go back to the parliamentary, that is more accountable, that is more economical, that is more effective. We've been talking of impeachment and this and that. If it were to be under the parliamentary, it's just a motion of no confidence.
And that's all.
And before you say Jack Robinson, the thing is changed. And if it is going to be the party that will still be there before the next election, somebody else, a new leader is appointed and automatically becomes the prime minister, rather than wasting enormous dollars, naira, to bribe delegates, to bribe voters and everything. No, it is unnecessary. We are not financially strong enough as to continue to say, yes, we must follow other advanced countries. Let us learn how to crawl before we want to say, okay, let's start running. So that's some of the problem that we have, but I believe that if we can get the confab implemented, it will be the starting point, a good starting point. Then beyond that one, because I said to a large extent, beyond that one is the fact that our problem is in us. We are the one that are negatively inclined, that we don't want the best of constitution. Our people are ready to sabotage. I don't want to attack any profession, but you will agree with me that there can be no corruption in any establishment, be it private or public, without the knowledge of the accountant. We have the accountant, we have the regulatory bodies, all the professions, engineering, coroning, and everything, we have them. And yet we continue to have building collapse. You leave that one, you talk of law. Put the constitution down now, already embedded at the drafting level are loopholes. Just whether right or left, a little to the left, a little to the right, the lawyers must eat. And they continue to do this. And that was why I said patriotism must come to play. What do we have? Accountant General. The first one, several billion. The second one, several billion. Then what's going to be left for implementation? So the real thing is that we need to change the system. We need to change ourselves. We need attitudinal change. And whoever is coming just have to learn to live by example, not by precept, not by mere promises. Do what you think is necessary. Make sure that education is not tackled from like you are building and you start from the roof. Start from the base. At the primary school level, empower the local government to take charge of the primary school, which is their responsibility. The one on the concurrent list, secondary and tertiary, yes, let there be a sort of divider that everybody will know their limitation, where they can go, where they cannot go. Even if they, what do you call it, missionaries, if they want to come on board, yes, fine. But we must find a way of not making any to be exploitative, as we are having the private owners of university now. They are definitely exploitative. A situation where we are not allowing the common man to rest. Definitely, the rich man cannot sleep. They cannot sleep.
That's simply saying security for a few is insecurity for all.
For men, yes.
Thank you so much, distinguished Senator Adegbenga Shafiu Kaka, and thank you to Dr. Muda Yusuf, who joined us all the way from Lagos as we discussed 2023, the task before the next president of Nigeria. Yes, the challenges are enormous and daunting. The tasks are daunting. We hope that the next president, when Nigerians eventually file out the 2023 general elections to elect the next president of Nigeria for the next 4 years, they will look at these issues critically and ask the right questions, which will inform their choice when they file out to thumbprint on that ballot paper. The issues of tribe, ethnic sentiment, religion, and of course zoning or rotation of power, as it were, should not be paramount when you are looking for competent president, that which has the capacity and character to look at these main issues that must be addressed, talking about 2023 and beyond. That is exactly what we're looking at this morning. We want to appreciate you once again, Senator Kaka, for making it out to the studio. So join us again next week, Monday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the Roundtable. I am Toby Joseph. Good morning.